Hello and welcome back to Here Be Dragons. The war between the Galactic Republic and the Separatists continues. The valiant Jedi face new threats and must learn to navigate internal conflicts. Join John and Stephen as they discuss Season 2 of The Clone Wars. So that was not a very good announcer voice, but it's what you're getting, so
I liked it.
Deal with it.
Yeah, folks, he typed that up in our private channel before he sent me the link. I was like, what's that all about? Now I know.
Yeah, I'm not known for my ability to do impressions, but it was fun. So, Hey, everybody, welcome back. As I said, Steven, John, you know who we are. We're here to talk about some more Star Wars, right? Clone Wars Season 2. We covered Season 1 about 6 weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I crammed all of Season 2 this week.
Me too. Well, it just feels like there's been, first of all, I've been working a lot, so I haven't really had time to watch much of anything, but I have been watching other stuff for our respective streams. And so it does kind of feel like anything that we're going to cover, I do tend to have to cram in at the last minute.
It was a little bit homeworky for me this week. So I guess I'm going to start with my top-down view, okay?
Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
I thought this was not as good as Season 1.
Really?
Yeah. I think I can even identify why. But I do think overall it's still pretty good. We spoke a little bit earlier in the week, and yes, I have things that I'm going to bring up, but overall, it's still doing it for me. There were a few episodes where I was kind of almost even rolling my eyes, but when it's good, it's really good. The way Star Wars is really good, So, and when you're doing 22 episodes in a season, you're going to have your filler episodes. I get it. I'm not trying to treat it too harshly, but yeah, I think overall, I liked it, but not quite as much as Season 1.
Yeah, Clone Wars is very much a show that has its filler episodes, so you're not going to have a necessarily a season of the show where, except maybe arguably, Season 7 for me, because it's a shorter episode and they had very defined goals of what they wanted to cover. Mm-hmm. But typically the seasons are longer and there's filler episodes, so you're not going to have that season where every single episode is killer. Which is, and plus they were always kind of riding that line between, is this a kid's show or is it for grown-up Star Wars people? And you'll see that a lot in future seasons where it's going to get really heavy, and it gets heavier as it goes on. Yep. But then you'll get to an episode where it's like, okay, this is the one for kids.
And I'm okay with that. George Lucas will tell you that he made Star Wars for 12-year-olds.
Yeah.
And I recognize that. And I don't, it doesn't bother me that it's got its moments for kids. It doesn't bother me at all. As a middle-aged man, I am missing some of the nuance that I'm used to in my storytelling. But I also recognize that I am not the target audience. I am a Star Wars fan, so I'm happy to dive in there and just enjoy the parts that are for me.
Yeah. For myself, I actually, my opinion of Season 1 is that there's a lot of good stuff in that it's introducing the characters, but I don't feel like it's as strong from a sort of narrative standpoint as Season 2. I think that Season 2 is finding its footing a lot with the drama and the character interaction. I think some of the stories feel weightier than Season 1.
Right.
And I like that a lot.
Yeah.
I'm gonna gush throughout this episode about the Mandalore arc, just because I love that, and the Obi-Wan Satine story is a thread that will continue throughout the series. And
Yeah, it was a highlight for me as well. You know what? I would just like to say hi to everybody who's here in the chat, because we've got our hardcore folks in here. I see Sunflower Beth, Peter Griffin, Ana Iglesias, Lady Leap is here, Jolie, Danny McKay, Wheezy Squeezebox. I'm glad to see you're coming around again, Wheezy. We missed you. Mom is here, Betsy, Mother of Starks. Ridiculous Ed Tollett in the house, Kate Bertinsky, Phil H, Kraken Tacos. Don't know if maybe I skipped someone. I hope not. But yeah, thanks for turning out to talk some Star Wars with us, y'all. It's this ought to be a fun one. So I told you I can identify.
I know, obviously, I know what one of them is. One of the issues is.
Okay, I would love to hear what you think.
No, because you already told me.
Oh, okay. What else might be a detraction? Because I'm going to go off on a whole thing on that eventually.
I'll
tell you.
I mean, aside from some of the episodes with some goofier elements,
I didn't mind that so much. Not enough Ahsoka, not enough Rex.
Yeah, I did actually notice it was a surprise for me going back that that they take a little bit of a backseat this season. And also another surprise for me was that Ventress is not in season 2 at all. I had forgotten that. It just goes to show it's been a while since I've gone back to rewatch the whole series. Yeah, I mean, all I can say is that I think part of it is we're breaking it down season by season, so that the through line throughout the series is that those two are very much the pivotal characters. But I do like that some time was given to other characters in this season. I liked seeing, especially, the Mandalore arc is a big one for Obi-Wan, and I like that we got some Mace Windu as well in this one. So yeah, I had taken on its own. I can see how that would, be a misgiving, especially since, coming to this and, and after season 1 being, excited by these new characters of Rex and Ahsoka. I get that.
And I understand that they're actually trying to serve the narrative of the war itself, and ostensibly I would think that Obi-Wan and Anakin were sort of initially conceived as the stars of this show. Like, the story is really about them.
Yeah, and also the Clone Wars overall is as much as I think by the end of it you see Ahsoka and Rex as sort of the central characters of the series. The Clone Wars is also meant to very much be the in-between material of episodes 2 and 3. So you are carrying forward the stories of Anakin, Obi-Wan, Padme, and the other Jedi. And like we got Mace Windu in this season, and in other seasons there's very strong Yoda material. So yeah, it's to say that the series kind of ends very much establishing Ahsoka and Rex as sort of the major two characters is not to say that the rest of the series doesn't focus heavily on a lot of other characters.
Sure. Well, it's the Star Wars universe. It's huge. Mm-hmm. It's got quite the ensemble of characters to choose from, all very interesting. And I was glad to see the return of like Luminara, Plo Koon, as you say, Mace got a little bit more to do this season. Not enough Yoda, but there was a little bit.
So I see. This is the thing. In a future season, there is. I mean, there will be a lot of stuff with Yoda, but there is one arc in particular that's Yoda centric that I think you're just going to flip out over. So that'll be great. But yeah, and I was thinking. I'm glad you mentioned Plo Koon because I was happy, especially in the final episode of the season, to get a lot of Plo Koon. What I love about that is he's also voiced by James Arnold Taylor, who does the voice of Obi-Wan, and he plays him. I know he said that Ian McKellen as Gandalf is an influence, and so naturally I kind of like that, and he's just a really awesome character. I love seeing those Jedi who we didn't get much of in the films fleshed out, especially the ones that we see meeting their end in Revenge of the Sith, because I know when we did our watch party, I guess it's been a month and a half, 2 months ago now, the weight of that was completely different than I had remembered in the past, just because we've gotten all this stuff with the Clone Wars.
Right on. Sean agrees. Plo Koon, definitely one of my favorites from the show. Yeah, I've really enjoyed him so far. And maybe it's because they're using him very sparingly. So, like, I notice when he shows up, and then he's like, there is a point, like, I'm just going to do my normal, like, chaotic way of talking about things. So I'm going to start with a scene from the final episode where it's Plo Koon and Ahsoka and Aura Singh, the bounty hunter. And the scene where the action breaks loose and Aura Singh sort of like busts out her pistols and starts going after Ahsoka, who's doing everything she can just to deflect them. In that whole scene, like, Plo Koon is never out of sorts. He's in charge. He's taking care of stuff. It was really cool to watch him kind of be at the very top of his Jedi game in that moment, because I feel like he had a gun to the back of his head, but he was never out of sorts. He was never flustered, and it impressed me. I guess I really like Plo Koon. I don't know much about him. I'm learning about him from watching the show, but I'm not blind to the fact that why people like him.
Yeah. So were there other issues that...
Okay, do you want me to just talk about it now and get it out of the way?
Sure, because then we can go on to the good, good stuff.
Okay, so I've said this to a few people. I was in a Zoom chat for a little while last night. I said this as well. There is not a good military commander on either side in this war. Not one. They do not understand how to secure a drop zone. They do not understand how to deploy combined arm tactics. They do not understand, like, close air support or air superiority. The clones won't even get behind a rock that they're standing next to for cover. So I'm just like, who trained you? Because whoever trained you really let you down. Get behind the rock, then shoot. As Amos will tell you, take cover first, then shoot. But there are many scenes of clones standing full upright, just blasting away, and then they're getting picked off one by one. And I'm not really sure what to make of that, because part of me is like, it is so far from reality. You people need to hire somebody who understands military strategy to talk over your storyboard artists with what to do. So like that's probably one of my biggest complaints is the fact that it's called the Clone Wars and it's a story about war, but like these people have no idea what they're doing. But part of me also wonders if that's so that it's a children's show and they're trying to convey the horrors of war. And like the clones are being sent into a meat grinder. There's a few that we know. We know Commander Cody. We know Rex. But often, like they'll give a clone a name just to kill them off, and minutes later in the episode. So I guess I'm kind of torn about the like don't take cover thing. Like, do you want to drive home to kids that when you fight a war, lots of people die? Because that I can understand making that choice, but there's also a part of me that's just like, God dang it, get behind the rock.
Yeah, I will say that full disclosure, I was never heavily bothered by the, quote unquote military tactics of the show because I tended to be so sucked up into the drama of, what's going on with the characters and, and all that. So it was never to the point of distraction for me. But I will say, I think you're on point, with, the second notion that you said. I do think primarily they're showing that a lot of clones get killed, and I certainly don't think that they had a sort of military advisor working on the show, and maybe they should have. But yeah, so I don't know. It's one of those things that never bothered me, but I can see how it would, especially if you're somebody who had been in the military.
Yeah, and I'm not going to harp on it too much, but like I can't remember which episode it is, but there is an episode where there's a big shield and they have to take out the shield generator so that the tank can fire. I can't remember exactly what happened, but anyway, they're flying troops in on troop transports and they're getting eaten alive by enemy air cover. And I'm like, why? Where are your fighters? Like, it is a bad general that sent in troop transports without securing the landing zone first. So, all right, I'm done because if I try to do it over and over again for everything, I'm going to be talking about it a lot. Suffice it to say, that's the big immersion breaker for me. It's just like, okay. Jesus, guys, learn to learn some strategy and tactics. All right, fair. I'm done.
And it's fair. I'm not going to say it's not. I just think your mileage will vary.
Right.
It bothers you, but yeah. So I guess we'll kind of start closer to the beginning. We get a character who we actually glimpsed in the finale of season 1. Although, funny enough, because some of these episodes are narratively out of sequence, the premiere of this season is actually the first time chronologically we're supposed to meet him. And that's Cad Bane, the bounty hunter, who just is like one of my favorite characters in the series.
I like him.
Yeah.
He was a fun character. Like it's not too many characters that can go up against Jedi, one or more, and not really, like, he's clearly having to reach way into his bag of tricks to get through it, but like he gets through it, which is not something that most people can say. So yeah, he's definitely a crafty and capable guy, and the voice actor is really cool. The sort of vocal modulation or whatever, the after effect they're doing on his voice is really cool. So I enjoyed him as a character.
Yeah, and yeah, Sean says Cad Bane, my favorite villain. Yeah, and this story arc is really kind of chilling because the thing that he's doing is he's kidnapping young children for Darth Sidious. And what's great is this is actually, even though we won't revisit it in this series, this is actually a thread that, if I'm not mistaken, follows through into Star Wars Rebels. This idea of Sidious, who's always trying to, try out different things with the Force, right? And this whole notion of kidnapping young Jedi children continues, and then there's other stuff in Rebels, and it's just, and the fact that Cad Bane just sort of says, you want me to, kidnap innocent children, and he follows that up with, that'll increase the price. He doesn't have any scruples about it. He just wants more money for it.
Right. I did enjoy him. I enjoy his look too. Like, he's a very well designed character. He's got the really wide brimmed hat, which gives him a sort of Western vibe even.
Yeah.
He feels like the black hatted gunslinger in some spaghetti Western to me. And I really appreciated that. One thing I will say, I think this show, I mean, it's going to be a little hit or miss with its villains, but its bounty hunters are like the bounty hunters in this are so good. Be they, like you say, Cad Bane, Hondo makes a return in this
Hondo,
season, and I love him. And then we also get Aura Singh, who I was just like, whoa. Like, I misidentified her as Asajj Ventress for about 5 seconds when she first showed up, but it didn't take long for me. Oh no, that's not the same person.
Yeah, and actually, because I'd seen some of these episodes, not super recently, but somewhat recently. The last 3 episodes, though, I had not seen for a very long time. So this was the first I'd seen of Aura Singh in quite a while. And man, just her look, she's scary.
Okay. I kind of thought she was sexy,
Yeah, well, but sometimes those two things do go hand in hand,
right?
But yeah, but don't screw with her. She's dangerous.
That's probably part of what makes her sexy to me, is the fact that she is in fact quite dangerous.
But you did mention Hondo, and again, you know what? I'm just going to probably say a lot. One of my favorite characters, so I'll get very repetitive. But Hondo is amazing because he sort of, he almost has the same thing, not quite the same thing, but a similar thing going on with Obi-Wan, that sort of Ventress has, where there's, where those two characters have the flirtation, her and Obi-Wan, there's this rapport of almost, acting like they're friends between Hondo and Obi-Wan, where every time he sees him, he's like, Obi-Wan Kenobi, my old friend. And that just continues, and it's great. And what's great about Hondo is he gets to interact with a lot of different characters throughout the series, some different villains, and it's always fascinating watching him interact with them. Like last season, we saw him interact with Dooku, and in an upcoming season, he gets to interact with a certain fan favorite villain. I'll keep quiet for now.
Yeah, don't spoil me, but yeah.
And it's great. He's really funny, but there's danger to his character. You can't trust him. And actually, he pops up in another show as well, but because that show is kind of targeted more towards sort of more consistently to a younger audience. His character is kind of lightened up a little bit. But what I like about his depiction in Clone Wars is that he has a dark streak. So he's funny, but you can't trust him, and you need to be careful around him. So.
Okay. Yeah, I appreciated that he was not just a bad guy.
Yeah.
Like, it's clear he's going to shoot you in the back if he thinks it's profitable for him. But if it's not, he's not going to... He'll even be friendly. And that's a great bad guy. And the voice actor is so good, too. Just... is a guy named Jim Cummings.
Mm-hmm.
And...
which, by the way, I really want to take this time to mention. I don't know if I may have mentioned it on the last stream, but if you guys, if there's any fans of the show out there, and hopefully since you're watching, but there's a great web series by James Arnold Taylor, who does the voice of Obi-Wan and Plo Koon, on his YouTube channel. It's easy to find. It's called James Arnold Taylor. He did a season's worth of interviews with his fellow Clone Wars actors, and Jim Cummings was one of them. I'm almost certain. And he did interviews with Matt Lanter, who did Anakin, with Anna Graves, who voiced Duchess Satine, and quite a number of other actors. And it's just great stuff. That was before we knew Clone Wars was coming back for final season. And I think a lot of us were desperate just for kind of, content related to the show. And so if you want to hear from some of these voice actors, go ahead and check that out. It's called Clone Wars Conversations. It's a great series. Hopefully he gets to do more at some point in the future. But yeah, Hondo... it's what you were saying, where he's not just a bad guy. He even has a moment in, the final episode where it shows that he operates by a code of honor,
right,
as well, where he counsels young Boba Fett to make an honorable decision, and so if it's convenient for him in the moment, he'll
exactly. And it was convenient in that moment. Again, having not seen the whole series yet, I can't say for certain how far I would trust Hondo. Not very far, but like maybe a little bit depending on the situation. Which isn't... And just the way he carries himself and the way those lines are delivered by the voice actor, I don't know. He's my favorite villain, quote unquote, of the season.
Yeah. There's I won't spoil like who says this to him, but there's a line in a later season which really just sums up his personality, where somebody calls him insolent and he responds just by laughing, and he's like, "We are pirates. We don't even know what that means."
Right. Okay, you're right. Yeah, I don't know. There was just something about the charisma of his voice that really won me over. Especially, I enjoyed him in season 1, but he came back twice this season. Once to try to steal crops, and then again at the end with Aura Singh and the Boba Fett storyline. And he was just great both times.
Yeah,
like I love him standing over the cliff and being like, "This is no longer profitable," and then he just runs away. And like,
by the way,
that's my dude.
Can
That's
I
my
just say
dude.
that I love that their spacecraft is literally a flying saucer.
Mm-hmm.
There's just something so sort of classic cheesy sci-fi about that I love that they did give that to to one of the alien races.
Yeah. Okay, so I don't know, John, what do you want to talk about next?
So I know this was the arc that had most of the military problems you were citing, but there is, which is the landing at Point Rain. That's the name of the first episode. It takes place on Geonosis. What I did really love about this, first of all, is just the revisiting of Geonosis. I like a lot of the visuals, and and just getting to see more of that, and especially when we watched Attack of the Clones in the Slack group, it was really cool having seen some of the stuff on Clone Wars and then see the live action version. But what I really love about this arc is the really creepy stuff with the Geonosians underground.
Oh yeah, the mind control slugs
and with the Queen, that, and especially that, because that is obviously an homage to Aliens, and I'm a huge Alien fan, so
sure.
So that for me was really cool. And there's stuff like with the banter between Obi-Wan and Anakin when they're going down there, and I'm skipping out on the other Jedi's name. You just said her.
Luminara.
Luminara, and when she's being held captive up there, and Obi-Wan, Anakin's like, shouldn't we stop them before that slug goes in? And he's like, just a moment, Anakin, don't you want to see how it works? And he's like, I don't think Luminara wants to see how it works. And she's like, no, I do not. And so I really enjoyed a lot of the character dynamics there. And it's just creepy. Is what I love about Clone Wars is that they tackle all these different genres with these different arcs.
They really do.
Yeah. Because you've got, basically the Godzilla or King Kong, episodes later on.
Oh yeah,
in the season.
Absolutely. I'm like, when I first saw him, like, that's kaiju. Yeah. And then the next episode, it's rampaging through Coruscant, and I'm like, why did I not see this coming? I should have.
Yeah, so I really I love how sorry, you and I put the same comment at the same time. Yeah. So it's just great. I love that they have so much fun delving into these different kind of brands of cinema and trying out different things throughout the season. And it kind of really shows the pulpy mind of George Lucas at work, because, and that's another thing that I like to stress all the time with this show. I know people give Lucas a lot of grief, and rightfully so, at certain points. But even though a lot of the credit for the show should go to Filoni and the writers, but Lucas came up with these story ideas, for everything except for the final season, which aired, which even that was some stuff that they had drafted out before the show was canceled. So a lot of these stories come from notions in his head, which is why some of it is so wild and crazy. But what's great is then
wild and crazy. I really do. That's one of the things that Star Wars has always had is larger than life situations, creatures. But it's always been part of it. It's always been part of the draw of it.
Yeah, and Pat really nails that Lucas is brilliant for coming up with story ideas, but just not very good at writing dialogue, and which is why it's good that he had, basically came up with his ideas and then handed it over to Filoni and his team of writers. I think it was the best of all possible worlds.
Yeah. Again, for me, like, I don't have a whole lot of complaints. Like, complaints are few. I think I've pretty much talked about them all. Then there's things that I connect with less, but I'm not going to complain because I understand them, and like, it is what it is. And then there are parts of it that I absolutely loved. Like I actually did not love the kaiju episodes. And part of that was like this show signals what its virtues are very strongly. And I don't always agree with them. You know, we're trying to teach kids X, you know, that X is the right way. And I'm like, I don't know that I agree with you, though. For instance, like I would have killed the Zillow Beast and had zero compunctions about it. It is a giant monstrosity that it can easily kill people. Like once you brought it to Coruscant and it got out, like I'm just like I can't even feel bad about it.
Yeah, but I mean that's Palpatine's doing.
True,
like, that's not the beast.
But even when it was on Rhodia, like I'm like, oh, so there's a kaiju on Rhodia now. What's the right thing to do is to protect the millions of people that live there. I'm sorry, and I'm not happy about it. But this whole like, how can we kill this thing? I'm like, I'll show you how we could kill this thing because if we don't. I mean, I just feel like Palpatine was right in this situation. But that leads me to something I know, right? I don't often agree.
Yeah, but Palpatine wanted it for nefarious reasons.
True, but like I am going by what he's saying, okay? Not Darth Sidious, Palpatine. Okay. So like at least allow me that amount of separation between the two.
I do. I mean, personally, I think if they were able to subdue it and then transport it to another planet where it, you know, maybe an unpopulated planet, I think that actually was a good course of action. It's the idea of bringing it to Coruscant, which was a disastrous notion. But the thing about this is that even though I kind of agree with the side of subduing it rather than killing it, I do like that this kind of it points out some interesting layers to Mace's character, where, you know, in this instance he's very concerned about, you know, sparing a life at all cost, and then seeing how things change for him, where he compromises in that in Revenge of the Sith, where he is absolutely determined to kill Palpatine, you know, for that.
Mace Windu is a general in this war who is sending his clones into that meat grinder. So, like, I find him to be slightly hypocritical. But yeah, I don't even know that that's a bad thing, because...
No, I think that's... I mean... From a character and sort of narrative standpoint, I like that. And I like the fact that he ends on a really dickish statement at the end of the season, which is when he you know, confronts Boba there in the last scene, and Boba is like, I'll never forgive you for, you know, for killing my father. And his response to that is not to try and, you know, reach out to this kid and try and, you know, bridge some differences. Well, you're going to have to. It's like, really, Mace? But that's who he is, you know? And
yeah, and I guess this actually feeds into a larger point I have. And like, okay, I'm a Star Wars fan. I'm generally consider myself like, you all know I love freaking Luke Skywalker. Love Luke Skywalker. But I'm also one of those people that that believes that the Jedi way was inherently flawed. Like, and I understand it's very episode 4, 5, and 6. What we hear about the Jedi in the original trilogy is a very sort of like rose-colored glasses, idealized version of what they were. And then episodes 1, 2, and 3 started to show us, oh no, they're actually a deeply, deeply flawed group of people with a with a philosophy that is nice on the surface, but once you dig deeper, it's very it's difficult to live up to. There's a lot of contradictions just in it, and it seems like a lot of the members don't hold to certain parts of it, just depending on what your individual personality is. You're not supposed to have anger, but I see angry Jedi. You're not supposed to have attachments, but clearly several of them do. And the Jedi Order is a failing organization. That's part of the story of the original trilogy is why the Jedi failed. And it's because of a corruption of their ancient ideals. You can't be a peacekeeper and a general at the same time. I firmly believe that,
yeah. Which is a big part of this season.
Yeah. And I also know, and I won't spoil anything, but I do know a little bit of spoilers for things to come. And I do know that there is a character who kind of almost embodies that idea about the Jedi, that they're not what they seem to be, or not what they're cracked up to be necessarily. I don't know exactly when all that goes down, but I know that it does go down. Okay. And I'm very looking forward to that. I like that, Padar. How much? I like the question. How much of the philosophical underpinnings of the rebellion actually stem from the good elements of the Separatists and not actually the Republican side of the Clone Wars? See, now we're getting into like the philosophical parts of the story, which I love. Because I also feel like the Separatists, they're the bad guys because we're told they're the bad guys. But like,
well, and it's part of the thing of a lot of what we see of the Separatists are their leadership, who are unquestionably they're villains. But the actual people who don't know that, who believe that they're, fighting on the side of good by being part of the Separatist movement. We actually do get a little of that next season.
Right on.
There's an episode that focuses specifically on that. So that'll be cool to talk about. But yeah, it's kind of hard to tackle that when 99% of our perspective on the Separatists is Count Dooku and General Grievous.
And that horrible spider monster. What is it? Emerald Trench. Oh my God. I'm just like, why, Star Wars? Why you do this to me?
Oh, you didn't like Admiral Trench?
Not even a little bit.
I don't know. I like Admiral Trench.
Okay, character-wise, he's, I didn't dislike him, but like, he is a horrible spider monster. What gives?
Oh, that's right. It's your issue with spiders.
Yeah, so, I'm a spider hater.
Yeah. That's fair.
Yeah. Okay, cool. I'm glad I have your approval. But yeah, like, a lot of times you're right. They're bad guys because we're shown that they're bad guys, and we're allowed to slaughter as many of them as we want because their soldiers are robots.
Yeah, and that's why it is kind of uncomplicated from that perspective, because we don't have the conflict of, although by the end of the show, I do come to feel a little bit bad for the droids, because it's like they don't really know that they're doing anything bad, and they're just sort of going about their thing, and they don't want to have a bad day. They want to have a good day. So, but that said, they are mindless, for the most part, sort of mindless beings doing the bidding of genuinely evil beings. So it's the fact that we don't get to see a lot of the politicians and the people who actually believe in the separatist cause that cuts down on the sort of conflict that we would normally feel in a story like this. But
I need to address Padar's comment here. First of all, fear doesn't lead to hate. Fear leads to anger. Anger leads to hate. And hate leads to the dark side. But I am a gray Jedi, so I am perfectly willing to use dark side when I need to. The same way that Luke Skywalker choked 2 Gamorrean guards in Jabba's palace when he walked in. Like, they're like, don't be angry, but I think righteous anger is valid sometimes. But I digress. I will basically, the short answer there to that is I will continue to fear spiders because it fuels my Jedi abilities.
I do want to bring up there's an episode this season where I know you mentioned not enough Rex, but he gets a really good episode this season, which is called The Deserter, where he is injured and he comes across a clone who has sort of long since left the Grand Army of the Republic, and he has settled in on a planet and has a family, and there's we talk about having philosophical discussions. That episode is really filled with it. And how did you enjoy that episode, Stephen?
So I actually liked that one a lot. And as much as I like Rex, I feel like he was kind of wrong. I'm very sympathetic to the deserter. Like, I'm very sympathetic to all the clones. Hey, we created you, and then your whole life has been preparing to go out onto the battlefield and stand in the middle of a field, standing straight up, blasting away until you get taken out. That is unconscionable. That is morally repugnant. The idea of the clone army in general is horrifying to me. And the fact that they really don't have a choice one way or the other. And they're clearly, sentient individuals who are fully capable of having complex emotions, and, they're human for all intents and purposes. And for Rex to say like, you took an oath. It's okay. He didn't really have a choice. Even if he did swear an oath, it's like, what choice was he given to not swear that oath? So he never had the opportunity. And when he got to his point where he broke, a la, I always think of like the broken man speech from A Song of Ice and Fire. That what's the Septon something? Anyway, it's on the Quiet Isle, and there's a speech about a man breaks, and what happens after that. So that's what happened with this deserter, but he found purpose. And like the fact that Rex is going to be angry with him because of the path that he chose for himself, it's like Rex you can't even understand where this guy is coming from. You just can't.
I think that instinctively it's sort of a threat to Rex's own sort of complete determination to stay on the path that he's on. He believes in complete, for lack of a better term, obedience to the Republic, and so this, I think, opens up something else to his eyes, and it is something that I think stays with him and will be a factor in things to come, as his character goes on. I was really struck by that watching it this time. I obviously not going to talk much about what comes ahead, but the great thing about having finished the entire series is that I'm looking back at a lot of these episodes and being like, that's neat. The seeds for that idea were planted here. And so it's nice to see him. And I do like that in the end, you know, his way of reconciling that is, sorry, it's my duty. But with my injury, I probably won't remember any of this.
Yeah, like I can admire Rex a lot for his dedication to following through, to doing what he thinks is right, his dedication to his men and his cause. But at the same time, like that's what he's choosing. But this deserter, like, and all the clones really never really. I don't even know if Rex is really choosing that. Like, is he brainwashed to the point where he doesn't understand that maybe he should have a choice to not be a soldier? Again, this is the complicated stuff that I really kind of enjoy that this show.
But that's what's so juicy about it. You just asked the question, is he brainwashed? This is a story that literally culminates with the clones being brainwashed.
For Order 66, yeah.
Yeah. And so all this stuff is, yeah, it's very relevant for you to ask that. And it's all, you know, very much part of Rex's development. And yeah, and the fact that, and we even get an episode this season, you know, speaking of Order 66, where we have, you know, mind-controlled clones, you know, attacking Ahsoka on the ship, which, you know, brings very much to mind Order 66.
Right. Scary.
Yeah.
But like, I feel like maybe the show is a little clunky in the way it handles this, but I do appreciate that it's ambitious enough to at least ask the question, like, and to present it like for Rex. Rex is the hero, so I feel like the writers signal what they want us to think about this through what Rex's reaction to it is. And maybe that's just me trying to dumb it down because it's like...
Yeah, I don't know that I agree with that, Stephen.
Okay.
I think we're very much meant to sympathize with and be operating from a point of view of the deserter. Because I think that's very much, because we understand that. We understand freedom of choice. And I think that we're meant to kind of watch as Rex grapples with sort of coming to terms with unlearning what he's been taught and seeing a different way. So yeah, I don't think that we're meant to sympathize with Rex in this situation in terms of his point of view.
Okay, fair point. Even so, like, while I don't know that I agree with your take, but I understand where you're coming from. I still think that they're trying to signal us with Rex's opinion, but Rex has at least by the end of that episode come to the point where he is willing to forget what he saw and not report the deserter. So he does have some nuance in his understanding of the situation. Mm-hmm. So I can appreciate that. I need to call out the chat. I hate you guys for talking about Chinese food in the middle of the stream. Still got an hour to go, and I want Chinese food. So, thanks for that. Appreciate you. Should we just do the mid-roll since we kind of stopped?
Yep. Go ahead.
Okay. So, one of the things that I need to make sure we point. Okay, first of all, everybody, please please subscribe. So, I mean, I know most of you are already subscribed, but if there's somebody out there who's not, please do that. I would appreciate that. And please also like the stream, just because a bigger number next to the thumbs up makes me feel more valid as a human being. Thank you. Got a new 2 patrons upped their patronage this week. So big thanks to Sixto Sounds, who is now in the top tier. Big thanks to Sir Maura Lee of Starfall. You all know her, Maura Lee. She's a huge supporter of a lot of content creators out there. She upped her pledge to the top level. So thank you to both of you. And then while we're at it, John Bronsteen the Wise, and of course, ridiculous Ed Tollett. We love you guys. Thank you so much. Like we're rolling, man. We're rolling, and I will say this too. Like, so we have our Slack group, and sometimes we do the Zoom calls and all that stuff. And if you want to be a part of that, just holler at me. You guys, you generally know where to find me. Let me know if you are interested in that. I was talking yesterday. If Ice and Fire Con does not happen for whatever reason, I have to figure out how to see my friends. So if Ice and Fire Con is actually canceled, we're going to figure something out. Just so you know. So stay tuned for that. We'll see what's what. I want to make sure that I mention that Nessie has a stream in 2 days. Over on the Unspun Yarn. She's going to be talking about Sphinxes with Alicia Kingston, and I think Amy Blackfire is supposed to be there as well. So that ought to be really cool. Sphinxes in mythology in general, that's what she does. She does the magical menagerie over there, and it's been great stuff. So, and then John, what do you got coming up?
Okay, so I kind of lied to you guys. I had told you that my next stream wouldn't be for 3 weeks, but as it turns out, that was not true because I was able to figure it out so that it's actually just going to be 2 weeks. So the next one will be coming up on August 13th, usual time at 2:00 p.m. Eastern, and I will go ahead and announce what it is. I am going to be doing a stream with a good friend of this channel, Bernie, and we're going to be talking about the film In Bruges.
Nice. And
so
what day is that?
That is on August 13th
at
2:00 p.m. Eastern.
Right on.
So tune in for that. That's going to be a lot of fun.
And then next Sunday, we're back at The Expanse. You know how much we love The Expanse here. It's probably my favorite series to cover right now, and we will be doing a character analysis of the incomparable Undersecretary of the United Nations, Christian Avasarala. All her sass, all her smarts, all those outfits. So yeah, come back next week, and
all those swear words.
Nessie will be back with us. It seems like her internet is functioning again, so hopefully, fingers crossed, we don't have any problems there, and Nessie will be back with us. And we're also hoping to have Monaro Geek TV join us as well. So hopefully we can get both of those ladies in here, and should be a great stream. Christian Avasarala is a fantastic character, so yeah, looking forward to that one. All right. What else do we need to talk about? Oh yeah, we have a Patreon if you want. Like, there is no exclusive stuff. I do try to make it clear, like, our Patreon is just to sort of like to pay for our software, to upgrade a computer or a microphone, or replace a camera if it goes out. So like, there is no exclusive Patreon content. You do get shout outs in the mid-roll if you're a high enough donator. You get your name down written in the description. But yeah, but you do get our eternal thanks and the thanks of the community at large, because you are helping make this easier on us, because occasionally people do need that new microphone, new camera, whatever. So yeah, much love to all the patrons. Much love to all of you who are here chatting. Thanks for joining us. And what else, John? Anything else that we need to make sure we mention? What I can think of.
No, I think you know our covered, man.
All right, cool. So, season 2 of the Clone Wars. I needed more Ahsoka this season.
Yeah, I get that, and I was honestly quite surprised, having not watched the season as a whole in quite some time, that she wasn't in more of it. But you know, what can I say? That won't always be the case for the show. She features very prominently in a lot of this series. So yeah, but it was a surprise to me.
Let me just say, yes, Mother, I would like that very much. I'm going to have Chinese food after the stream, y'all. Okay. I'm sorry, John. What did you say? I was too wrapped up in the Chinese food talk. I know.
Not paying attention to what I say.
Not only am I a bad host, but I am a bad friend and a bad person. But like,
wow, you know,
get over it. What'd you say?
I don't know. I was so hurt that I lost my train of thought. No. But yeah, it's one of the reasons why I was very happy that Ahsoka was a focal point of the last episode of the season, at least, so that even if she wasn't in as much of it as I thought she would be, because I obviously didn't remember very well, at least she got to be in the final episode in a big way.
Yeah, there were times where I'm like, there's Obi-Wan and Anakin. Why is Ahsoka not with Anakin?
Well, and there's one instance where it's for a very good reason, and that's actually the episode with with your favorite character, Admiral Trench. And it's because that episode is a prequel which takes place before the Clone Wars movie.
Wait, what?
Yeah, the episode with Admiral Trench where they have the cloaked ship, and the planet that they're orbiting is the planet Christophsis, which is the planet that Obi-Wan and Anakin are fighting on at the very beginning of the Clone Wars film.
Okay, very cool. Also, I just noticed I got to give a shout out to Potter. Buddy, I see you. Just became a patron just now. Notification popped up on my phone. So you get added to the list of love. Thank you, buddy. Your name will be in the thing from now on. Thanks. So yeah, I did not realize that was like the immediate.
Well, and actually, there's this is great. It's like the continuing adventures of the planet Christophsis, because actually last season there was also another prequel episode to the film. It's the one, you remember the episode where one of the clone troopers is a traitor?
Yes.
That takes place directly before the film.
Okay.
And this episode takes place before that episode.
Okay. Are they going to keep like adding prequels every season? Like,
no,
let's do one right before we run into Admiral Trench.
No, this is it for that conflict. However, the premiere episode of next season takes place not before these, but around that time, because it's actually about some clone troopers. But it takes place before the season actually takes place, because then we're going to catch up with them in the present time, the next episode. So it's kind of like a lead-in. So but then that's not the one that'll throw you for a loop next season. We're going to get an episode next season where Senator Farr is alive, and he's the one who was assassinated this season. George Lucas loves his prequels.
You're not wrong about that.
And the thing is that there is a chronological order list for the show, but the thing is that, and yeah, some of these are random, but in the case of some episodes, they are setting up things that follow in the next, in the follow-up. Like I said, next season is going to start off with what's technically a prequel, but it connects directly to the second episode of the season. So there's a reason why that's there. Whereas if you were watching chronologically, you'd watch that episode like all the way at the beginning. So there, most of the time there's a method to the madness, but in some cases it just it is.
Yeah, I wish there was just some sort of like indication.
Yeah.
To say like, hey, this was like back then. Because I had no idea. I thought the Admiral Trench thing was just chronological.
Yeah, and I think the only reason I knew was because I recognized the planet, but they really don't give you any other indication.
Right, Christophsis.
Yeah, but yeah. So anyway, that's the explanation, at least for that episode, why Ahsoka isn't there, because she hasn't arrived yet.
I mean, that's a good reason, but like even those last few episodes, sort of like with the Zillow Beast and then the Boba Fett storyline, like I feel like she should have been there. If she should have been with her Jedi Master, she should have been.
We do see in the second to the last episode that she's for some reason with Master Plo Koon. So I guess at certain points she might get side assignments or whatever. But I like that they teamed them up together for the final episode of the season, because as has been established, those two have a prior relationship, is because Plo Koon is actually the Jedi who found Ahsoka as a youngling, and so they have a past, and so I do like their relationship. But yeah, it is kind of odd. I think that just because they often want different varieties of characters together.
Sure. And I mean, it's not the worst thing in the world, other than like, give me more Ahsoka. She's the best part of the show. But and
also I will say that I think part of the reason why I just assume that she's like the star for every season is because for a long time everything sort of Clone Wars related has sort of been like Ahsoka, because the show was canceled and the last aired episode, not including the episodes that were finished but they didn't air, so we eventually got them, but the last aired episode on Cartoon Network was a big, huge episode for Ahsoka, and so that left a huge impression. And obviously when season 7 came back, that's like almost all about Ahsoka, and Ahsoka came onto Star Wars Rebels, and that was
I actually have a question about that. Okay, and it's not really a lore question; it's about watch order. So I'm going to watch all of the Clone Wars eventually, but should I watch up to season 6 and then watch Rebels and then watch season 7? Okay, so just watch all the way through.
Yeah, and just the only thing I will counsel you on to watch not even watch in between, but after you finish season 6, which is not even really a full season. It was originally called The Lost Missions because they were episodes that they had finished but never aired. But after you finish those episodes, there's a comic that you want to read because it does have a very important arc for the show that you'll want to know about heading into season 7. So that's about the only extra thing that I would have you go ahead and take care of in between. But yeah, I would hold off on. I mean, you could watch Rebels, but because I mean we did.
But there's not a story driven reason for me to do that.
No, because Rebels very much. Well, I don't want to talk too much about it because it's
fine. You answered my question. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Hmm. Okay, so now let's go ahead and the hopeless romantic of me wants to.
Oh yeah, we've like
dive in.
Duchess Satine.
Yeah, the Mandalore arc, which is so good, and I'm sure there were a number of things that that were in here which should run a bell to your Mandalorian watching eyes and ears, because we got to see the appearance of the dark saber,
Mm-hmm.
as well as hear the name of
Pre Vizsla.
Pre Vizsla. Yeah.
Because there a Vizsla in Mandalorian, the big heavy weapons guy? Is he a Vizsla?
Yeah.
Like I want to call him Post Vizsla just because it's stupid, but I know that's not his real name, but yes, do remember that. Here's the thing. I had heard of Satine, and I knew that she was like the leader of the Mandalorians and that she was a pacifist. That is what I knew about her going in. After her, whatever, 3 or 4 episodes that she's in, I'm like, I love this woman. Her dedication to her ideals is like I'm struggling to find the right adjective for it. It's very compelling.
Yeah.
Like it's very clear that she cares deeply about Obi-Wan, but there was a time where he said, somebody died, and he said, I didn't kill him. And she said, I know. That's why I'm still talking to you. And I'm like, okay, that is a woman who is dedicated to what she believes is right. And to watch her choose pacifism and nonviolence, but not just roll over and acquiesce to people. She was definitely willing to stand up for herself. I'm losing my words. I freaking loved that character.
Good.
Yes, admirable is one of the many words I would use to describe Satine. Like, Obi-Wan, I get it, my man. I get it.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where there's a lot of things for this show that I know when they originally did them that you sort of step aside, and based on what you already know about Star Wars and the mythology and the characters, when the show first started doing certain things, you're like, that's different, that's odd, that's going to take some getting used to. Like, I never contemplated Obi-Wan like having this deep true love and for someone, but man, it works, and I love their bond and their relationship, and and obviously the romantic in me just loves that moment where he just says, had you asked it, I would have left the Jedi Order, and and then you get the music going, I'm one for my my musical scores, and this is a good one, and yeah, it's great. And what's great about this is it's not just establishing their relationship, but it's establishing a story thread which is going to continue, because Mandalore is very important to the rest of the Clone Wars series and into Star Wars Rebels as well.
Right.
And obviously now the Mandalorian as well.
Yeah. So, like, was this the actual canon introduction of the Darksaber?
I don't believe so.
Okay, fair enough.
I think that it existed in Legends, but as far as in canon, this was the first time.
Okay.
It was
so in revised canon.
Yeah.
Okay, because it looks cool. It sounds awesome. Like the sound design. I mean, we can forget about the lightsaber sound design. It's actually super interesting how they do it, and it sounds fantastic. But it's become such like a you know what a lightsaber sounds like, that snap hiss sound and the whoa whoa whoa. We all know what that sounds like, and I'm not trying to diminish that because it's actually pretty iconic. But man, the dark saber just sounds incredible in contrast to a lightsaber, and it was really cool to see it. Pre Vizsla, who has it, is a what a jerk.
Yeah, he is. He's a major jerk. That's not a personality, characteristic that changes moving forward. So, but did you recognize his voice?
No. So like there was literally only one voice I recognized, and that was Jamie King, who voiced Aura Singh.
Okay. Well, Pre Vizsla was voiced by Jon Favreau.
Oh, nice.
So that just goes to show you how long he's been steeped in the Mandalorian stuff for Star Wars.
A long time.
Yeah, and he also did the voice of Paz Vizsla, who was the character in Mandalorian.
Okay.
In addition to obviously show running and creating the show, but yeah, so I remember that tickled me when it was announced that he was going to be the showrunner of The Mandalorian. I was like, great, because he's in there. On top of just being, a really talented guy, this is, someone who was fully immersed in this.
Yeah, there are several people who have done several voices in this show. I mean, and beyond the obvious, oh come on, he does the voice for all the clones. I can't think of the guy's name off the top of my head.
I'm so ashamed because I know his name, but for some reason I'm drawing a blank. Let me pull him up. I'm going to feel so bad about this.
Yeah.
D. Bradley Baker.
Oh, yes. D. Bradley Baker, who, he's kind of a legend of a voice actor. He's done a million voices. Fun fact, he is the voice of Appa and Momo in Avatar: The Last Airbender, as well as other, guards and stuff sometimes. But, he does all the animal noises in that show, and he's fantastic.
I mean, I can't sing his praises enough just because, obviously, there's lots of episodes where he is doing the voices of a lot of different clones. And there is an arc in the show eventually where the entire point of the arc is, it's focused just on this group of different clones, and he has to create very specific different identities for each of those characters, and he succeeds absolutely brilliantly. So yeah, I mean, he's amazing.
Yeah, I agree. Yes, Phil, Momo. Same guy that does Momo does all the clone troopers. Interesting little factoid there. But yeah, he's and you're right. He's got to be all of them with their different personalities and their different emotional states at different times. So I was really, really impressed with what he did as well. Favreau taking over Lucasfilm, I doubt it. Sorry,
Yeah.
Sorry, Tolkien. I actually doubt that pretty strongly.
Yeah, I mean, I typically don't subscribe to the rumors that Kathleen Kennedy is going anywhere. I think that mostly tends to be wishful thinking on the part of people who don't like
Kathleen Kennedy.
Yeah. And I mean, personally, would I mind if one day Dave Filoni took over? No, I wouldn't have a single complaint about that. I don't think it's happening anytime soon.
Yeah, and it's going to be it would much more likely to be Filoni than Favreau.
Yeah. Yeah, it just honestly, like if you threw out the whole rest of this season though, and it was just the Mandalore arc, I mean, that would be enough for me because it's how much I love it, and a lot of that is informed by the fact that this is sort of the root of a lot of stuff that develops later on. I love the chemistry between James Arnold Taylor and Anna Graves, who play Obi-Wan and Satine. There's great stuff in the middle episode of that arc where they're really getting in each other's face.
That's good stuff too. Like that was the stuff that made me go, oh, I love this character of Satine. Like, just she was so committed to her ideals. I don't even know what else to harp on. You know, her character design, she's clearly meant to be an attractive woman, and capable and smart, but it's her idealism that I found to be the most attractive thing about her. By a pretty wide margin, even.
Yeah, God, I'm trying really hard to find this one quote by her, but I can't get the exact words to bring up the search result, but it's something to the effect of, ladies and gentlemen, I assume you've met, the combination of half-truths and hyperbole known as Obi-Wan Kenobi.
That was a great line. But you're right, it's half-truths and hyperbole.
Yeah.
I'm just like, wow, what a burn. But she's not wrong either.
Yeah.
Which I guess circles back to the idea, like, I feel like the Jedi Order is intrinsically flawed, you know? And I think, like, for better or worse, intentionally or not, this season is starting to show some of that. But Satine was a great foil for that idea. The fact that, like, she was, it's hard to argue against the pacifist. Like, you're doing the wrong thing. Well, no, you're trying to keep people out of a war. And it's not sort of like a false neutrality the way some countries were neutral during World War II. So, I mean, again, it was out of idealism. And, given that, the Jedi are the good guys, she's against the Jedi and what they want her to do. So I just appreciate how nuanced that part of the story was, because a lot of the rest of the episodes are very sort of black and white.
Yeah.
Their moral approach.
And yeah, I do think that to a certain degree that is a result of this being, especially early on, it's a show that's aimed at being appropriate for kids to watch as well as engaging the adults. So it makes sense to me that maybe some of the stuff is not as subtle as maybe we would like. But I will say that if you like sort of the drama and complexity of the Mandalore arc, there's more of that as the show progresses and matures. I will say that next season is, without spoiling anything, I think you'll find the first half of the season kind of is a little hit and miss.
3? Season 3, you mean?
Yeah, season 3. The first half of the season is a little hit and miss. There's some episodes that are very engaging, but then there are, a number of filler episodes. Once you get to that halfway point, though, man, it just fires on all cylinders for the rest of the season.
I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, so don't get discouraged if it's if there's a little bit of weak stuff in the first half, but that is the show. I don't, as I said, I don't think they really had a season that was, that was perfect, like all the way through. I think I would argue that season 7 comes pretty close, but even with that, I know some people weren't as engaged with the middle episodes. But then we get the big finale. So,
well, I plan to stick with it. You know, I don't see a reason why I shouldn't. If nothing else, like the idea that there's more to be had with Obi-Wan and Satine, the idea that there's more to be had with Ahsoka and Anakin. Like that enough is that's enough to bring me back anyway.
Yeah.
And if season 3 can equal season 2, I'll be happy. You know, I'm not going to blow smoke up anybody's butt and tell you, oh, it's the greatest thing ever, because it's not the greatest thing ever. But like, I did enjoy it, you know? So y'all, we're about 30 minutes from the end. So any of you big Star Wars fans out there that want to bring up something that we haven't talked about yet, feel free to mention it now. I'm going to run through the list of episodes, and John, you just tell me like where we should stop. Okay, where do we need to stop and talk about something? So you kind of have a block at the beginning that is Holocron Heist, Cargo of Doom, and Children of the Force. This is the story.
It's a small thing, but let me just mention that one thing I always do enjoy watching that first episode of this season is Cad Bane's little droid sidekick, who unfortunately, I think he was voiced by Seth Green, and unfortunately he gets the bad end of the stick where he gets blown up by Cad Bane. But I always enjoy his character.
Seth Green is Toto 360.
Yeah.
Yep, that is accurate.
And there's that point where, Cad Bane is like, I'm just making some adjustments. You've been having some memory malfunctions. And he goes, I have no memory of any memory malfunctions. Oh, no, I have no memory of any memory malfunctions. I'm trying to think of what else is in those.
Okay, so the first one is Cad Bane breaking into the Jedi Temple to steal a holocron. Then he's trying to sell the holocron to the Separatists. Then he is using the information on the holocron to track down and kidnap children. Yeah. Oh, wow. So there's a bunch of notes about the chronology in here. But
where are you reading that from?
From Wikipedia.
Oh, okay.
Like, as a for instance, the next episode, Senate Spy, which is where Padme kind of meets up with a former romantic interest. That is, it says chronologically that takes place after the Zillo Beast strikes back.
Yeah, because I think chronologically, actually, the Zillo Beast arc goes earlier, but I'm not entirely sure about that because if that's the case, then they rebuilt a lot of stuff in Coruscant very quickly. I think the chronological list that the official Star Wars site put together is flawed, but it is what it is. But yeah, oh god, and what's that character's name? Her in the Padme episode. He is a total douche.
I don't know who you're talking about because you said her and then you said he. What is her name?
No, what's his name in the Padme episode? Because he's also in one of the Padme books as well.
Oh, Clovis.
Clovis.
Yes. I was like, who are you talking about? Now, and because you said Padme, and for whatever reason, Ahsoka was the image in my head.
Yeah, he's like the guy that you're just like, really, dude?
Yeah, like I hated him appropriately. Like,
yeah,
they wrote him in such a way that was obvious. They're like, we want you to hate this guy. And I'm like, good job, because I hate him.
yeah, I mean, this could get characterized as a filler episode, but I really do tend to like the stuff between Anakin and Padme in this episode, just because it shows them not just being like, not that they're ever shown to be a perfect idealized couple, because there's a lot of heavy drama that happens in the films, but they get to bicker like you don't often see, and so I enjoyed that.
Yep. So then the next sort of storyline in the season is the second. Excuse me. Sorry, the second invasion and second battle of Geonosis, which is 4 episodes long. It's landing at Point Rain, Weapons Factory, Legacy of Terror, and Brain Invaders. Brain Invaders is a great name, by the way. That's a very Star Warsy name.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to lie. Basically, what I've already talked about, my favorite stuff from this arc is once you get to the zombie Geonosians.
Right, and this is one of the 2 arcs that has the most egregious sort of examples of military command ineptitude going on. I don't need to go over it again necessarily, but like and
something that we didn't mention with this arc is you have the Luminar's apprentice, Barriss Offee, who is introduced in these episodes, and this is the beginning of her relationship with Ahsoka, which, well, I don't know how often it carries through the rest of the show, but I know there is some more stuff new with them, and I can't say exactly why, but I really enjoyed I can't say because gets in the spoilers territory, but I like the fact that you have this setup of whether or not Ahsoka is willing to kill Barriss when she's under the control of one of those slugs. Is she willing to take that life to either whether it's to save others or to save herself and get away. That sets up a very interesting conflict for later in the series. And I like the fact that Barriss is one of the people who brings up this idea of, what comes after the war. What are the Jedi going to be following the war? Obviously, we know they're not going to be anything because the majority of their numbers will be hunted down. But yeah, and then Ahsoka says the line, I don't know that peacetime will agree with my master.
Which is heartbreaking.
Yeah.
When you actually, in the context of the larger story for Anakin and Darth Vader. Padar, you knew what you were in for when you came.
Yeah, I'm sorry. You're
not. Don't be sorry. Don't be sorry.
No, I'm saying
not sorry.
No. Yeah, if I ruined,
Yeah, if we ruined Star Wars for you, it's your fault. Okay, well then, so after the sort of Geonosis arc, which I did appreciate because they basically did do a zombie horror movie, and I also really liked that Ahsoka got to bounce off another Padawan who had a very different perspective and a very different sort of set of skills too.
Yeah, and I do want to go back to you. And I know I already mentioned this, but I really have to say that I loved what they did with the Geonosian Queen and just her design and like the sound effects, her voice and everything. It was really creepy, and I really liked it. And I like the fact that they set this up. Well, I mean, they didn't purposely set it up, but, for years we've had the character of Podle the Lesser, who is, always the one we see kind of pulling the strings with Geonosis and the sort of plotting with Count Dooku, but he's called the Lesser. And, if you're like, well, why is he called that? And now we see that there is someone above him, and it's the Queen. So I like that.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm glad you said that because I wouldn't have. I'm sorry, y'all. My brain occasionally just goes to weird places. So next we had a pair of episodes that made a story that Grievous Intrigue and then The Deserter. The Deserter fits with Grievous Intrigue because it sort of follows on from it, although like narratively they're not really joined together narratively. They're just joined together because one follows the other chronologically.
Yeah, Grievous Intrigue works for me because it sets up the Deserter, but aside from that, there really isn't that much to it. It's just Grievous has decided he wants to kill some Jedi this week, so he's going to torture one to lure a bunch of others in, and that's the extent of it. There's really no larger, story point than that. Although we do get a really cool fight between Ed Grievous and Obi-Wan, which I like. But and actually, an interesting point of that is that there's a reason why Anakin and Grievous both can't and don't meet in this episode. It's because they don't meet for the first time until the opening of episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. So they had to keep coming up with reasons as to why they actually don't meet over the course of the series.
Cool. I again, like, that's one of those deeper lore things that I'm really so there's a guy at Star Wars who works there whose job is to know all the canon. Like, that's his job. So that somebody can write a thing and he can go, no, you can't do that because that character did XYZ. This can't be this isn't their first meeting. Or like, nope, they can't greet each other as old friends because they haven't ever met before. And I can't think of his name.
I think you're thinking of Pablo Hidalgo.
That's him, Pablo Hidalgo. I didn't want to get it wrong. I got to Pablo, but I couldn't get his last name. So
there was this really humorous thing they did when Star Wars Rebels was on the air. It was called Rebels Recon. It was a web series where you had the host of that show who was one of the hosts of what's now called the Star Wars show. And they would like recap and do cast interviews for that week's episode of Star Wars Rebels. And then there'd be a segment where she'd go looking, quote unquote, looking for Pablo Hidalgo and trying to stump him with a question from one of the that was mailed into him by a fan, and he'd always have like a canon response as to why something was the way it was.
Yeah, but like that's his whole job is to make sure he knows it all. Tolkis starting the Expanse this week.
Good call.
I am super excited for you. I wish I could watch it again for the first time. It's a fantastic show. Come back next week. We will be talking about a character from the Expanse. Real talk, I don't expect you to be done with all 4 seasons in a week, but like unless you've actually seen it already, in which case, yeah, come back. But if not, yeah, we will be spoiling stuff. So, but yeah, my favorite show right now. Anyway, I digress. Star Wars. Lightsaber Lost was the next episode.
We didn't talk about this, and dude, do you know what I'm going to say about this episode?
What are you going to say?
Dark Crystal. Because the Jedi Master looks just like one of the mystics from Dark
Crystal. He does. And I really enjoyed her youthful energy bouncing off his sort of like aged wisdom. It was really, really fun pairing.
Yeah. I always enjoy that when I go back to it, and I do believe that I mean, obviously it was, you couldn't mistake that, but it was an inspiration for the character. I mean, that couldn't possibly be a coincidence.
Well, it could possibly be.
It could, but it wasn't.
Right. I did enjoy that pairing. I can't remember what the Jedi Master's name was. It's probably right here. Tara Sinube.
Yeah.
And again, I think it was just fun. I think it was really fun to watch Ahsoka have this learning experience, and like to the point where at the end she's actually talking to younglings about the importance of keeping up with your lightsaber. So, in a season with not enough Ahsoka, I was very happy to have this particular episode, not just with her, but also with a really interesting side character like Sinube.
And I really do. Of course, I love the comedy of the fact that Anakin is always apparently telling her, this lightsaber is your life, don't lose it, when, of course, in episode 2, we see that he's the one who keeps either losing or destroying his lightsaber.
Oh. Yeah, so I don't know that I have a whole lot to say about Lightsaber Lost, other than I really did like the pairing.
Yeah, it's a great pairing. And like you said, because we don't get much Ahsoka, or at least not as much Ahsoka in this season, episodes like this really are wonderful to see. And
yep. So after Lightsaber Lost comes the Mandalore arc, which is the Mandalore plot, Voyage of Temptation, and Duchess of Mandalore. Now, we have kind of covered our feelings about this arc already, because it was one that I liked a little bit. It's one of the highlight arcs for me.
Yeah.
So I'll just say I really, really thoroughly enjoyed it. I don't know that I have anything else additional to say, though.
Yeah, I'll just say, since we're here, what I was talking about earlier with the those Clone Wars interviews that I mentioned that James Arnold Taylor did, I'm going to throw in the link for the first episode, which is actually with Anna Graves, who voices Satine. It's great to see them talking about the characters together. Although I will say, if you haven't seen the entire show, maybe don't watch it.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah,
because they do discuss stuff that happens later on. So
like full spoilers.
Yeah. So there's spoilers, but I'm still going to throw out the link just for those of you who have seen the whole show and don't mind that. So
fair enough. I'm not going to watch it just because I haven't seen it and I don't want spoilers.
Yeah.
But for those of you that have or don't care about spoilers, there you go. It's right there in the chat now.
And what's great is that at the end of each one of those interviews, he takes like strips from different movies or plays or whatever, and has those respective characters actually go through those scenes. Like, like, okay, I'm just going to say I highly doubt that this is a spoiler to anybody because his character has come so back into the mainstream, but eventually Darth Maul does make an appearance in the show. So when he interviews Sam Witwer, they close out by actually doing a scene from The Princess Bride between Wesley and Inigo Montoya, but as Obi-Wan and Darth Maul.
Mm.
So that's the kind of stuff that you get.
I need this. I need this in my life.
Yeah.
Which tells me I need to. I'm not going to cram through the Clone Wars, but like I'm looking forward to getting through it just for that, if nothing else. Okay, after the Mandalore arc, there were a couple of more like, I guess, single episodes, or like they're not part of a bigger arc, and they are Senate Murders and Cat and Mouse. And I feel like these are both very filler episodes to me. Like, and especially coming off the Mandalore arc, I was just like, ugh, boring. But
yeah, and I won't lie, my first time through the show, especially every time I got to Padme Senate episode, I was largely like, okay, can we get back on to the other stuff? I haven't, but I feel differently going back and watching the show, and especially since I've gotten a chance to read the Padme books that have come out, both Queen Shadow and the latest one, Queen Peril. I'm a lot more invested in Padme's story than I have been in the past, and so I enjoy getting to see these episodes, which kind of deal with the intricacies of her working in the Senate and building up these relationships with people like Bail Organa and Mon Mothma and things like that, and seeing how Palpatine is trying to thwart, her good intentions, basically. I have always enjoyed the following episode, Cat and Mouse, just because to me it's a fun episode. I
agree. There's it's disconnected from a larger arc as well, I feel like, but I don't know that it's a filler episode. I really loved this one.
Yeah.
This is where Hondo makes his return for season 2.
Oh wait, no, sorry. We were talking about different things. I said Cat and Mouse, which is the
oh right. Bounty Hunters is the one I'm talking about, which would be after Cat and Mouse. Sorry.
Yeah. No, because
the horrible spider monster that Anyway.
I like it just because I like seeing the dynamic between Obi-Wan and Admiral Yularen, who this is really kind of one of the first. This is supposed to be sort of their introduction to working together, and so I like seeing. We're not so secret. We're dragons.
Yeah, we're kind of not secret Targaryens when we advertise.
So I don't know, I find a lot to like about this, and I like the whole thing with the cloaked ship, and I enjoy the line because it's basically a check on canon, which is, no ship this small usually has a cloaking device, which is a reference to the line from the original trilogy where it's like, just in case you think they forgot that a ship that small shouldn't have one. No, there's the line.
Because Pablo Hidalgo reminded them that.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, aside from that, I don't have much to say about the episode. But Bounty Hunters, you're right. It's a really good episode, and actually, it reminds me quite a bit of an episode from The Mandalorian, in which Mando and God, I'm just forgetting characters' names.
Cara
Dune are training the villagers. I find this this episode from Clone Wars to be more engaging, personally, than the Mandalorian episode.
Fair enough.
Just because I think overall the characters are more sort of entertaining, and the fact that we have Hondo, and I do like the dynamic between the Jedi and the bounty hunters.
I do too. I kind of appreciated that they were not. I mean, they're mercenaries, but that doesn't make them horrible people.
Yeah.
And I appreciated that they were able to be a little bit nuanced in their approach to that. Yes, they're bounty hunters. I mean, Star Wars calls every gun for hire a bounty hunter, whether or not they're actually hunting bounties or not. But yeah, I don't know. I appreciated this one. I did not feel like a filler episode because they were tackling something a little bit more complex, philosophically and ethically and morally complex. Like, is it terrible for these people to take money to protect these people, and like the idea of like learning to defend yourself and all of that, and then of course Hondo showing up, and like it had been long enough since I saw season 1 that I kind of forgot about him, but the moment he started talking, I'm like, I remember this guy and I loved him. And just that end with this is no longer profitable, and he runs away, and I'm just like, I love this guy so much.
And you're right. I mean, Jim Cummings is brilliant just because it's the way he delivers it, where he's like, this is no longer profitable.
Mm-hmm.
That's great.
Okay, apparently Bloodraven is Palpatine. He is a Sith Lord, official Star Wars canon. Thank you, Jess. We got there. Although I got to say, Bloodraven is probably not nearly as evil as Sheev Palpatine is. But he would definitely be in danger of falling to the dark side.
Should I just say, as evil as Palpatine is, I really feel kind of sorry for him that he got named Sheev.
Right.
It's like, what's up with that?
Yeah, he probably got picked on a lot as a kid.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why he turned out evil.
Yeah.
What's up, Sheev?
I do like the fact that these bounty hunters are seen to definitely have more shades of gray, and they are honorable in the sense that they're like, because Hondo tries to offer them more money, and they're like, we don't break deals. So yeah, it's a good one.
It's a good one. There's only 5 episodes left in the season after this point, and they're basically divided into 2 arcs: the Zillo Beast, and then which is the Zillo Beast and the Zillo Beast Strikes Back. And then the last 3 episodes are another arc, which is the Boba Fett arc: Death Trap, R2 Come Home, and Lethal Trackdown.
Yeah, I will say that I really, it was nice for me revisiting that final arc because I hadn't seen it in quite a long time. I was more familiar with many of the other episodes from the season, so this was almost like seeing some new episodes for me because I didn't remember them very well.
Well, I will say, like, the Zillo Beast is another one of those where I was like, meh, not really feeling it that much. I thought that its ethical moral quandary was a bit messy, that it was trying. I thought it was a bit unclear with its messaging. I liked the second episode of the 2 better, just because you got the kaiju shots of it like rampaging through Coruscant. I really did like that part. But no, as far as like a 2-part and part of the larger the season as a whole, it was like, I thought it was one of the weaker bits of the season.
Yeah, I don't know.
Personally,
Yeah, I enjoyed it, and especially I think what adds to my feeling bad for the Xylo Beast especially towards the end, is the fact that for that whole episode, he's basically just trying to find and kill Palpatine, which is something I can get behind.
Yeah, I can get behind that too. But then we close off the season with those 3 episodes for Boba Fett, and like I recognized him, but didn't realize that I recognized him because I'm like, oh wow, this long-haired kid looks like Boba, and then of course it actually is him. Oh, okay, I had no clue that was happening, and the idea of like child soldiers being brought in now to because we see them, they're what, 12 years old, and they're already being trained without any sort of free will or self-determinism to be soldiers.
Yeah.
They're not being treated like children. So like, again, it breaks my heart that this is what the clones go through.
Well, and this very much calls back to the episode with Rex and this question of self-determination, and you see, these young kids already being brought into this, and as far as they're concerned, it's their duty, and they're not even questioning it.
Pretty well indoctrinated too.
Yeah.
But we get a name drop of a character from the original trilogy. We hear Bosk's name in there, who shows up in Empire Strikes Back. Although, like, all he's doing is standing on the bridge of one of the Star Destroyers during that scene where Vader is hiring all the bounty hunters. But yes, that is are they called Trandoshans? Is that what species that is?
Yeah, Jess, I have to say, that just makes it worse. It's the fact that they don't know any different.
Yeah, it doesn't make there is probably nothing that anybody's going to be able to tell me about the clones that's going to make me feel better about the fact that there is an entire, I don't want to call them a species, but like there is a huge group of people who are created and grown for the specific person, for the specific purpose of being meat for the grinder.
Hey, Nessie.
Hi, Nessie. We plugged your stream, and I'm going to do it again at the end. Just wanted to let you know. We told people that you're talking about sphinxes. And we're about to wrap up here, y'all. John, anything else? Like, I'm not trying to cut you off on the Boba Fett arc. If there's something else you want to say, I did want to say, like, yes, Aura Singh was a very interesting character. I am playing a rogue in my Dungeons and Dragons game right now, and I saw her, and I'm like, there is a character touchstone for an excellent rogue character. Somebody who will shoot. She didn't shoot him in the back. She at least said his name, so he turned around when she shot him.
Yeah, and I just say that though this is what I really do love about watching this show is the fact that yes, we have episodes that are obviously more targeted towards kids, but still, this is a show in which you have one character just shooting, mercilessly shooting down another, and it's not sugar coated. That's violent for something for kids to be watching. And this was the difference with this being on Cartoon Network at the time versus like Star Wars Rebels, which was on Disney XD. And that's not taking anything away from Star Wars Rebels, because they did some great stuff within the confines of basically being a Disney show. But Clone Wars was able to get away with a lot more. And you can see that. And I think that just goes back to what we were talking about earlier, where they were really trying to show that, the clones being basically just taken down in huge numbers, and, and really driving home the point of, this is war, and in war, people get killed. And just sort of the merciless way in which some characters like that bounty hunter are just taken out, and how cold-blooded a character like Aura Singh is.
Yeah, but that makes it compelling. That makes her feel dangerous.
Yeah.
I mean, it also makes her feel dangerous when the scary bounty hunters around her are like, she's dangerous. So I'm looking forward to seeing more of her. I know that she probably doesn't have a whole lot to do in the future, but like, I'm still whatever you bring me for Aura Singh, I'm ready for it. You know.
Yeah, my feeling, especially after getting to revisit these episodes, is like, give me more of that character. Just even like, yeah, she does pop up, on a couple more occasions on the show, but we need like more of her character just in general. Like, I'd have her pop up in some other shows, like basically the new show Bad Batch, which is picking up after Clone Wars. Have her pop up in that because she'd still be around during that time, and factor in bounty hunters. That I think that show will provide a good format for these clone troopers who are kind of off on their own without getting into too much detail, because that's stuff that you
Right.
wouldn't know about yet, Stephen. But I think that's a good place to maybe fit in some of these characters and her most of all. And I'd love to see a book that's just all her. That'd be really interesting to get inside that character's head.
Yeah, I agree. So, anything else you need to make sure we say before we head to before like we do a Star Wars wipe and like go to the credits?
No, I'll just say that going into next season, it's certainly not a perfect season, but I think that what you'll see especially the second half of season 3, raises the bar in a really big way.
I'm looking forward to that. Right on, right on. Okay, well, hey everybody, thanks for joining us on a Sunday afternoon. You know how we do every Sunday. Come back, we got a new thing to talk about. Next Sunday, it's going to be Christian Abastarala from The Expanse. I know Tolkis was saying he's going to start. I'm sorry, they're going to start. I assume you are male, Tolkis, because Tolkis in Tolkien is male, and I assume that's where your name comes from. But starting The Expanse, well, next week we're going to be discussing an Expanse character, one of the fan favorites, Christian Abasarala. Nessie's going to be back for that one. She just said that her internet is working well, and hopefully we're going to have Monaro Geek with us as well. So come back for that. Also, in 2 days' time, on August the 4th, that's this Tuesday, at, I want to say 6 Eastern. Nessie, will you just drop the time down there in the chat so that we can know? But Nessie's got a stream coming up in 2 days about Sphinxes with, 6 Eastern, she says, with Alicia Kingston and I think Amy Blackfire. So there's that. That's 2 days from now. John, what do you got coming up?
Okay, so on August 13th, it's on Thursday at 6 o'clock p.m. Eastern, I will be doing a stream with Bernie, and we'll be talking about the film In Bruges. And I freaking love that movie, obviously. And it's going to be a lot of fun. I've been looking forward to this one.
Right on, right on. So tune in for that. That's in like 10 days or so.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what it is. Until next time, everyone, peace and be excellent to each other.